Hello, I'm Dr. Janine. Thank you for joining me in today's episode of the Dr. Janine Show. Today we're talking about secrets of what you need to know about vitamin C. So a lot of people, it's in the news, a lot of people are talking about keeping their immune systems healthy. We'll talk a little bit about that, but we're also going to talk a bit about the history of vitamin C, how it was even discovered as a vitamin, some of the sources and the best sources, of course, from whole food sources of vitamin C, some of the symptoms of a deficiency of vitamin C and what your body might be telling you that you are low in vitamin C, and some interesting facts that you haven't heard about vitamin C as well. We'll also be making an all-natural vitamin C serum right here live. I'm going to show you that recipe. It's something that you can make at home and you'll absolutely love for your skin. So thanks for joining me today. I'm Dr. Janine Bowering, naturopathic doctor, and be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and also give me a big thumbs up. Also, I want to make sure that you always turn on your notifications so that you always get my newest and latest uploads here on YouTube, and share this video because, you know, we're sharing a lot of great natural information, and I'm sure there's someone that you know that could benefit from this info. So let's talk about, and going back to the history of vitamin C, and a lot of you may have heard the story about the history of scurvy. So this is something certainly that happened in the 16th to 18th century with the European ships coming over to North America, and scurvy actually killed more than 2 million sailors. And it wasn't until 1753 when the Scottish naval surgeon named James Lind actually discovered that if the men on the ship were consuming lemons, that they didn't get this scurvy and all the symptoms of scurvy, which killed so many of them. So that was interesting. Now, what is important to note is that humans do not make vitamin C, and along with guinea pigs and apes, and this is something due to our own something called L-gulonolactone oxidase enzyme, and we lack this enzyme, which is the critical last step for vitamin C synthesis in our body. So it's something that we have to rely on from the outside, typically from our diet, to be able to get enough vitamin C. And it was in 1930, which is interesting, that Albert St. Georgi won the Nobel Prize because he discovered that you could isolate ascorbic acid from red peppers. Now, what's interesting to note here is that ascorbic acid, and this is what he actually wrote about, that the ascorbic acid was not bioavailable, meaning the body didn't use it appropriately to be able to help the health of the person consuming this ascorbic acid when it was removed from the red pepper. So that is the big question. We're going to get to this in just a few moments when we talk about bioavailability in nutrients, and the big question that I always am answering for people is, does vitamin C supplementation work, especially if it's from a synthetic source? So we'll get to that in just a second. So one of the questions that I always had was, okay, so we know that we get vitamin C from fruits and vegetables, and we're going to give you some of those top sources of vitamin C. But how do and did historically the northern cultures, so people that lived very far away from the equator and had, you know, relatively no access to fresh fruits and vegetables, how did they get their vitamin C? Now, of course, with modern agriculture and being able to ship vitamin C foods, fruits and vegetables to different parts of the world, this is less of an issue. But eating the native diet of these northern latitudes, how did humans get their vitamin C? Well, it's interesting that in some cultures, in the Inuit, they ate something called muktuk. And this was made of the whale skin, which contains natural vitamin C, and in the fat of the beluga whale. And also there's some vitamin C in seafood, and especially the organs of fish. And that's how humans got their vitamin C. So they didn't suffer from the scurvy, as did the sailors when they were coming across, and of course not consuming these things. And yeah, in traditional, you know, Inuit diet, if they're still eating it, which I think might be a little bit rare because of, you know, our ability to ship all the food, but if they're eating the traditional diet, then this is how they're getting their vitamin C. So now let's talk about some of the vitamin C deficiency symptoms. So one of the big ones is periodontal disease. So if there's a lot of issues in the mouth with the gums and teeth falling out, that this could be an indication of a vitamin C deficiency. And this is certainly very common in the elderly as people are aging, and there certainly is a decrease in the absorption of vitamin C as we age, that this is something that is, one of those symptoms of vitamin C deficiency. Another one that's common, especially in the elderly, is sores on the legs, and sores that do not heal very well would be another indication of lack of vitamin C. Also muscle wasting, so something called sarcopenia is very common, and we'll talk about that in just a second when we talk about, the relationship with vitamin C and being able to maintain our healthy muscle mass, as well as muscle pain. So if you work out, you're exercising, and you have a lot of muscle pain and stiffness, this can be related to vitamin C deficiency. Also easy bruising and bleeding. So this is something that, if you bruise very easily, that would be one of the first telltale signs that, there is a vitamin C deficiency. And also dark under eye circles. So this is very, very common. My patients used to always ask me about this, and relationship to vitamin C deficiency, because vitamin C has a lot to do with the strength of our capillaries, and that would be one of the indications to have that darkening under the eyes. Now, this is a really interesting one because a lot of people suffer from this. So those bumps on the back of the arms. Well, the technical term, the medical term is keratosis pilaris, and that is related to a vitamin C deficiency. So it could be on the back of the arms, it could be on the buttocks as well, which is common. So if this is something that you are, that you're suffering from, or somebody who has this and you don't know why, it could be because of the vitamin C deficiency. And nosebleeds. So nosebleeds are certainly very common as well, and that can be, related to that vitamin C deficiency. So we've got a few people watching. I want to give a quick shout out to, we have Tracy. So Tracy Fowler Hudson and also Chrissy Oliver. Thank you for watching. It's great to have you here. If you've got your questions, please leave them in the comments. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, or wherever you're tuning in from, I would love to hear if you've got some questions as we go on throughout the program. Now, what would be some other deficiency symptoms? Well, slow healing wounds. So if you cut yourself and you don't heal quickly enough, usually that should seal up within 24 to 48 hours. But if you're not healing up very quickly, because yes, vitamin C has a lot to do with our collagen and elastin, that goes for the aging. So if you're seeing, premature aging as well in your, certainly the skin that's exposed to more UV sun, which is a good thing. So if you've seen our previous episode all about the sun, you learned that yes, we need natural sun exposure. Is super, super important for our overall health. But if you're starting to see that premature aging, you could be a vitamin C deficiency that's causing the wrinkling on the skin, as well as joint pain. So if you've got a lot of joint pain, that can be related to a vitamin C deficiency, and increase in belly fat. So this is the interesting one. So if there is a lot of excess weight around your midsection, this can be related to belly fat, that accumulation because of that vitamin C deficiency. Now, some of the things that you may not have heard about vitamin C, and what's really interesting is that vitamin C, chemically, its structure is very similar to glucose. So in times of stress, and this is really important when we talk about white blood cells, because in terms of the concentration of vitamin C getting into white blood cells, it also competes for that absorption with glucose. So you may have heard before, and it's something that I often talk about when I'm educating people about vitamin C and your immune system, that when you are sick or you're coming down with something, let's say you have a cold or a flu, a viral infection, not to consume sugar. Now, why is that? Well, right on the white blood cell, your body is going to favor the glucose, especially in times of stress, when your body is going through stressful times, over the vitamin C. So you're not going to get that proper absorption of your vitamin C, and now your immune system becomes compromised because your white blood cells simply will not be working on your behalf because they're uptaking that glucose instead. So that is something, really important tip. You know how I feel if you've seen our other videos videos on weight loss and things about really watching sugars in the diet, and we'd have a whole hour show all about sugar addiction, so check that out if you're that person who's watching and you know that you've got an issue. Maybe you realize it or not, but most people, if you eat sugar, you may be addicted to it, and it has to do with the dopamine in our brain. So I go into full detail about that in our 1 hour show all about sugar addiction, so make sure you check out that video when we're finished with this one. You can check that one out as well. But both glucose and vitamin C need insulin for its proper absorption. You can see now, so when that glucose is spiking, you're not getting your vitamin C, and now you're losing that antioxidant effect, and this is aging you as well, because you're not going to get the benefits of vitamin C for your collagen and your elastin if you're eating too much sugar. So yes, sugar is not a food, especially if it's not a natural sugar from fruit and vegetable sources. You know, it's not something that we should be ingesting, and that's just one of the reasons. It has to do with our vitamin C, and it could be aging you more quickly. And it's interesting as well that the white blood cells actually have more insulin pumps than other cells as compared to other cells in the body. So, and they may contain up to 20 times the amount of vitamin C. So you can see the correlation between our white blood cells being able to clean up, you know, those bad cells in the body in terms of when we're sick, and doing that cleanup mechanism. That's what our blood cells help to do. They gobble up the bad stuff. And, you know, if we're compromised, we've got too much glucose happening and we're not absorbing that vitamin C, then our immune system is compromised. So what are some of the best and worst vitamin C's? Well, certainly I've got my favorites. Some of the worst out there, and what people really have to realize is that if you are giving your children or you yourself are taking gummies, especially gummies that contain sugar, this is something that, as we just discussed, that's not really going to help you. You won't be absorbing that vitamin C from a sugar-filled gummy because it's going to compete. It's actually going to influence your absorption of your glucose over the vitamin C in the first place. So will you actually get any vitamin C? It's questionable. And of course, there's the synthetically made ascorbic acid. So there's different types of ascorbates, and there's both synthetic D and L ascorbic acid. So what's interesting is that in terms of production of vitamins, probably 50-50 of each are made in the nutraceutical world, and the D type of ascorbic acid is not absorbed by the human body. So it's not something necessarily that you're going to see on your label. So if you're reading your vitamin C, you're going to see ascorbic acid, but it's not necessarily going to tell you if it's D or L ascorbic acid. And if it's the D type, which is, I'm going to guess, the much less expensive type of ascorbic acid, your body isn't going to even absorb it. So when people say, yes, when you take vitamins, you just basically urinate them out, they're not helping you, I have to sometimes agree with that, especially if they're synthetic, and especially when we're talking about synthetic vitamin C. Now, when we talk about bioavailability, I promised I would talk about this. Bioavailability means your body's ability to actually absorb these nutrients. And studies have been done on absorption of, talking about ascorbic acid specifically, or in a citrus extract, and designed as it should be directly from nature. And what they found was there was 35% more absorption of that natural ascorbic acid in terms of coming directly from the fruit itself. And why is that? Well, in nature, of course, our fruits contain not just the vitamin C, but all of the cofactors that allow for that vitamin C to be properly absorbed. So things like, you know, the citrus bioflavonoids and quercetin. These are naturally occurring nutrients in our fruits that allow for that proper absorption of the ascorbic acid in its natural form from the fruit itself. So that's interesting to note, and that's why when we talk about supplementation, there is a better way to supplement, and certainly that's always a whole food supplement that has those accessory nutrients as well. Now, organ meats have some. So I know the whole carnivore movement is very popular, and people do fantastic, you know, going to a more carnivore type diet if it's a clean source of the meats. But the organ meats do have some natural vitamin C, because most animals, except for, as we talk, the primates, humans, and guinea pigs, make natural vitamin C. and it concentrates in the organs. So that would be one source of vitamin C. But taking too much of vitamin C, especially in the synthetic form, can cause some side effects. So one of the most common side effects of taking too much vitamin C is diarrhea. And you may have heard practitioners say, well, the best thing to do to know how much vitamin C you need is to get to bowel tolerance. So this is something that I actually learned when I was, studying as a naturopathic doctor, and not something that I've ever done with my patients nor with myself, because I think that's far too high a dosage, specifically if it is a synthetic source of that vitamin C. So not necessarily recommended in my opinion. Another symptom could be nausea if you take too much vitamin C. Now another thing could be kidney stones. So kidney stones would be not something that you want to endure. And this is, I know some people that, they were doing IV drips of vitamin C, so a high concentration, they actually developed kidney stones, and they were in the hospital because of that. So you have to be careful, and especially when it is the synthetic form of the vitamin C. And one of, the least talked about things about vitamin C is that it becomes like a pro-oxidant free radical in the body. So what does that mean? So vitamin C donates electrons. So the way that it works as an antioxidant is it helps to stabilize free radical cells, which are usually unstable in their outer electron shell. Vitamin C helps to donate that electron. It works in concert with vitamin E as well and helps to donate that extra electron to stabilize, so vitamin E can actually regenerate and keep recycling itself. Now, the danger of this is that vitamin C, if taken in too high amount or too much vitamin E, or it's not the right balance, is that it actually can become like a free radical. So this is not something that we want, and that's why I always recommend getting your vitamin C from whole food sources, from the diet, absolutely. Getting natural sunlight that helps to allow for that proper absorption, but also the sunlight helps to make sure that our vitamin C is actually recycling on its own in our body, which is really interesting. There's not enough work yet done on this and scientific literature to back this up, but this is something that I've been investigating more recently. It's really hard to find the information, but there's just something about that connection with natural sunlight exposure on our skin and what happens at a deeper level in terms of quantum biology. So that's something, I'm going to be sharing more and more information about that. So what is the right way to take vitamin C? Well, certainly you've heard me say it before, from a whole food source. And that means, your best sources, which we're going to talk about, of that natural vitamin C are definitely directly from nature. And if you've got to go with a supplement, you're going to want to make sure that those nature-given ingredients are in that supplement with, those cofactors like the bioflavonoids and quercetin to help to make sure that it ensures that absorption. And of course, don't take your vitamin C with sugar, because we know that it competes for absorption with glucose because of its chemical structure. You don't want to do that, and specifically when we're talking about the health of our immune system, you don't want to take it at the same time as sugar. And if you're having something, let's say, you're stressed out, you're going to go for something sugary mid-afternoon, like a cookie or something, and you think, or a chocolate bar, and you think, I'm going to feel better. It's not going to help you. Don't take your vitamin C at that time. You want to take it away from sugar as much as possible. So, can vitamin C boost our immunity? Well, now I'm going to talk about 5 impressive ways that vitamin C actually benefits your body. So when we talk about immunity, yes, absolutely. As much as this information may be hard-pressed to find it these days, but definitely the indication is there that yes, it helps with immunity, helps with phagocytosis, which is, eating up of the bad cells that we don't want in the body. So there's definitely links to helping. And when you take vitamin C, that it helps to boost the activity of your white blood cells. Again, just make sure it's not with sugar. I think I have some more people that are, hello, Ricky, fan. I have a question coming in. Okay, so the question is, how many oranges would someone have to eat to get the daily recommended dose of vitamin C? Probably a lot, right? So that's a great question. I'm going to get to that in just a second, because we're coming, Ricky, we're going to come to the sources and the breakdown. but to satisfy the RDA, that's one answer, but to get enough depending on what your body's going through, that's another answer. So we're going to get to that. So just hang on for 1 second, Ricky. We're going to get to that in just a second. When we talk about all the different foods that give us the natural vitamin C. So another thing that we were talking about now is, how does the vitamin C benefit our body? Well, in terms of aging, so this is really interesting. In terms of aging, studies have shown that it helps with maintaining our healthy muscle mass. So especially in older adults, we can see in this study that new research has found that, being able to maintain muscle mass, so something called sarcopenia can happen as we age, and that's the breakdown and not being able to maintain our natural muscle mass. So vitamin C, for the people who had enough vitamin C in their blood, they had a greater muscle mass than those who had insufficient. So that is important. So make sure that you're getting enough vitamin C. Now also it helps with gout. So if you're someone or you know someone who suffers with gout, there's tremendous ways to be able to help gout. Vitamin C, again, from natural sources, is one of them. And this was a study done in men that the higher vitamin C intake was associated with a lower risk of gout. So definitely from a preventative standpoint, that is important as well, because the pain with gout is excruciating and it's something that you definitely want to prevent. But if you do have, a flare-up of your gout, then make sure that you are up on your vitamin C status. And here's another one, is body weight. So belly fat and vitamin C deficiency are definitely linked. And in this study, it was shown that the ascorbic acid concentrations and the fat distribution in a large cohort, so that's, almost 20,000 men and women, was definitely related to ascorbic acid concentration, so vitamin C in the blood. And that was, the more vitamin C they had, the less belly fat that they actually put on. So that was something that was fantastic as well to know that. So now let's talk about the top 10 vitamin C foods in the diet. So one of my absolute favorites is camu berries. So camu berries are 60 times more concentrated in vitamin C as opposed to oranges. And I know that Ricky asked about oranges, and oranges have about 50 milligrams of vitamin C per 100 grams. So to get enough, so the RDA for women is about 75 milligrams per day. So if you're to eat, 2 to 3 oranges, then you would get your RDA. Now remember, you're getting vitamin C in small amounts, probably from your diet and fruits and vegetables as well. But, that would be 2 to 3 oranges. Now, is having oranges the best source? Probably not, Ricky. So camu berries are up there, as well as acerola cherries, which are 13 times more concentrated in vitamin C as compared to the orange, so much more concentrated. Another fruit that's really high in vitamin C is guava. So guavas have a lot more vitamin C than oranges, as do kiwis. So kiwis are more concentrated in vitamin C as well as compared to oranges. Chili peppers as well are fantastic, as well as the red bell peppers, the yellow as well, and green. You're going to get some vitamin C, but yeah, the peppers are, so the sweet peppers, so make sure you're incorporating these into your diet, and more on the raw side, because whenever we heat up vitamin C, it just denatures itself, so you won't get the proper nutrient density. You're not going to get that active vitamin C, the ascorbic acid, from the fruit or the vegetable itself if you cook it, so they really should be raw. As well as kale, so you know that I all love kale because of the high ORAC value of kale, so the ability to quench free radicals, and broccoli as well. So again, you want to have these raw, so do your best to have raw kale and broccoli. And we talked about the oranges, but so they were again 50 milligrams for oranges per 100 grams, and lemons, so lemons are about 35 milligrams per 100 grams. So a big shout out to Harvinder. Hello from Dubai. Thanks for tuning in. It's so great to see you. I'm glad that you're here, and you have a question as well. So, does too much vitamin C cause skin issues? Well, it depends. So if it's topically, Yes, it can, because it can make you more sensitive to the sun, so you want to be a little bit careful. And it's also an acid, so the active component, the ascorbic acid, can be a little bit irritating to the skin. Now, if you're ingesting too much of it, it really depends, because vitamin C is water soluble. So the great thing about this is that if you take too much, most times you're going to eliminate it through your urine, which is a good thing, unlike other vitamins like vitamin D, vitamin E, or fat soluble. And you can actually have too much. Because they're fat soluble, they're going to stay in your body much longer than the vitamin C. So most times I would say you wouldn't experience it, but if you're asking about topically, yeah, it can be a little bit, if you're sensitive, can be a little bit irritating. So you would have to be careful in terms of, you know, having too much of too strong a potency. But we're going to make our vitamin C serum naturally in just a few moments, so stay tuned for that, because you're going to love this recipe. It's something that you can do at home yourself and use it topically on your skin, and it's not too strong, it's non-irritating, because I have super sensitive skin, so that's why I love this recipe, to be able to use it on my skin. So we're going to get to that in just a second. So as you know, in every show of the Dr. Janine Show, I share my DrJ9 truth. So from my perspective, you know, on the subject matter that we're talking about, all about, you know, my perspective on you know, vitamin C. So my DrJ9 truth for vitamin C is, please do not be misled by the advertising and the false information about vitamin C that's out there. And there's a lot. I mean, a lot of companies will have you believe, let's say, okay, you learn about the benefits of vitamin C and you say, okay, I'm gonna go and get a vitamin C, and you know, the very inexpensive vitamin C's, they're not all created equal. Remember at the beginning of the show, and if you need to, you know, this will be archived, so you can go back to the beginning. If you missed the beginning, I talked about the D and the L form of the synthetic ascorbic acid that's extracted usually, and the extraction method usually for vitamin C is using a powerful acid and genetically modified corn, and they put these like sulfuric acid into a big vat, and then they extract the ascorbic acid. And of course, it's not now bioavailable. It doesn't have the cofactors and all of those nutrients that were in the fruit or in the corn to begin with, so your body isn't going to absorb it. So that's one of the dangers. But to buy an inexpensive synthetic vitamin C and think that it's helping you, and then you've heard that, or you read, or somebody, a practitioner who doesn't know better, has said, oh, you need to take 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C, and especially if it's a synthetic type and the type your body doesn't absorb, this could be very dangerous, because remember, it becomes like a pro-oxidant, so like a free radical in your body, and it's not something that I recommend. So, you know, thank you everybody for tuning in. Give me a big thumbs up, and be sure please to share this video, because I'm sure you know somebody who would benefit from this information, someone that, you know, maybe knows a lot about natural medicine, and maybe someone who doesn't know anything, and everybody in between. Please share this video. It really means a lot to me to be able to share this great information that, you know, I put, you know, and I do all the research to give you the very best from the bottom of my heart in all of our shows. So I promised we would share our recipe. So this is a recipe for a natural vitamin C serum that you can make at home for youthful, glowing, spotless skin. So if you get, you know, the sunspots, if you have age spots, you can use this on your hands. You can certainly use it all over your face and your neck and your décolleté, anywhere that you really want to improve your skin texture. You want to, you know, have that beautiful effect of that antioxidant from the vitamin C. This is something that you can do on your own, and the ingredients are relatively easy to find. We just got these down the street at our local health food store, and certainly from our sponsors at VitaTree, we are using our whole food vitamin C capsules and opening that up to make our serum. So what we have here is we have some glycerin. So the glycerin, we have 2 teaspoons of glycerin, and the glycerin is a natural way to sort of pull all of the ingredients together, and 5 teaspoons of rose water. So rose water is beautiful. It smells so nice. It's smelling up the studio. It just smells so good. So you're going to add that into your glycerin, and I'm going to mix these up. And then I'm going to add in the whole food vitamin C. And again, this is our organic vitamin C capsules that will mix into here, and that has the active ascorbic acid, which again is directly from nature. And this one contains some of those really potent ingredients that we talked about. So the acerola cherries, the camu camu berries, which are super concentrated in that whole food vitamin C, which is fantastic, that ascorbic acid. So this is 5 capsules that I'm opening up. And you can see, because again, it's directly from nature, you can see the vibrancy of the color of those ingredients from this whole food supplement. And now mixing this, you can see, and this takes a little bit of mixing. If I wasn't doing it for the show, I would probably take about 10 minutes or so just to lightly mix this up, and then it totally goes into that solution, you can see, and you're going to let this sit. And I find if it sits overnight, that concentration of that ascorbic acid, so that natural vitamin C, really potentizes itself. And then you're going to use this on your skin, and I'll do just a few drops here. You're going to see that. And what I would do also is pour it into my dark glass jar. So that's something, again, that I purchased at the health food store. But to be able to, because this will oxidize very quickly as it's exposed to light and air. So that's the thing about vitamin C, is that it is very sensitive when it is in that whole food form. So you want to protect it. You want it to be in a dark container, but you also, and you can see that's beautiful. And some people actually use this because it gives a bit of a tan look to the skin, which is fantastic. So if you're looking now, going here in Canada anyway, I don't know where you're watching from, everyone, but hello, Joyce Ann. Hello. I think you're in, yeah, you're in Canada for sure. Hi, Joyce Ann. Nice to see you here. But if you're looking, as your tan is now fading, going into our cold winter months here in Canada, you can use this as a natural tanner right on your face, and you'll have that nice sun-kissed glow without, unfortunately, here in Canada, having enough of that natural sun exposure. But you can see how beautiful that is, and it really is so lovely for the skin. I'm going to pour that into my container really quickly because I don't want this to oxidize. I don't want to waste my fantastic mixture here. So pouring that into my dark glass container, and then you're going to store that, and that's going to be good for you for months. And just keep it at room temperature, and you can use a little bit of that every morning and evening, and you're going to love the way that your skin looks with using that. So great for sunspots, great for UV damage, also great for the wrinkles. So if you've got the wrinkles and you want to see them, disappearing or minimizing, then that active vitamin C right in your skin is something that you will love, and it's fantastic to be able to do that. So we talked about a lot today. Oh, hello. Another question. Morgan. Hello, Morgan, for joining in. And you have a question. How much vitamin C should my kids be taking? Less than me. So here's the interesting thing about vitamin C. Again, typically from a diet, I think, depending on the age of the children, it's something that, usually typically from an adult. And I always go back to, when we lived in the wild and we had to forage for our food and eat our food, typically an adult would consume more, maybe not double, but depending on, the age of the child as compared to the children. So depending on their age, yes, and the RDA is less, I believe, and it's something that we can check. I don't know if somebody can check for me behind the scenes here, guys, what the RDA for children is. I believe, my guess is around 35, whereas for adults it's around 75, so we're going to be checking on that. So yeah, the kids need a little bit less of the vitamin C, but remember, when you're getting it from whole food sources, you want to definitely get it in, I don't know, do we have the answer? My team's working hard behind the scenes. Maybe we don't have it. That's okay. 25. So I was pretty close. I said 35. So for youngsters, the RDA is less. It's less than, it's a third. It's a third of a woman. So a man's RDA is 90 milligrams per day. So think about that for a second. If your RDA, coming back to, before we wrap up, coming back to what I said earlier about the synthetic vitamins. So if you've been, suggested that you take 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C, maybe it's a little bit too much if the RDA and what we get from food, think of an orange as 50 milligrams per 100 grams, which is usually typically more than one orange. You have to ask yourself, well, is taking that many thousands of milligrams really to my benefit? And so, yeah, and to think that, having lemons on the ships with preventing the scurvy was enough, and not having a lot of lemon. How much lemon can you possibly eat? But having a little bit squeezed in some water helped to stave off the scurvy. So yes, we don't want to be in a scurvy state, and you need more to keep yourself healthy. But, we don't need as much as what you may have been led to believe before. So thanks for joining me today. It was a fantastic episode. I loved your questions. Thank you so much for that. And thanks for watching. Be sure to share this video. Turn on your notifications if you're on YouTube so that you always get my newest and latest uploads, because you'll get smaller segments of the program as well, which you can also share with your family and friends. And I'm Dr. Janine Bowering, and remember to always take care of your good health and do it naturally.